afternoon. It's the Pit Stop. I'm Stephen McCollum, and for however long it takes here, we're going to talk a little racing here as well. Of course, we are going into the Phoenix weekend here. COTA and St. Pete both happened last weekend. One show this week. We moved our studios over last weekend. We're not able, doing some finishing touches on it on Monday, so we weren't able to do the look back show on Monday. So we're going with one show here this week. And folks, we're kind of deciding here, do we stick with the two-show format, looking back, look ahead, or do we stick to one? The viewership for the first 2 weeks, really good there for the single shows. The split shows, really good viewership there as well, both at Robat TV. Of course, the YouTube page here of our production company, TME Media AZ, also good there. And also the podcast, good ratings on both. So we're kind of torn. Do we stick with the two or just go to a single race show on Wednesdays again? So something we're trying to decide here. But one thing we know for sure, well, this week only one show here as Phoenix gets underway on Thursday night with the ARCA series moving ahead a day, all because IndyCar is in town coming up as well. So I appreciate you joining me, whether it's live or on demand here at Robat TV, whether it's on the YouTube page or just on the podcasting system. Share us with your friends, if you will. And don't forget, follow me at the Pit Stop Talk on X. Let's communicate. Let's get together here. We'll be out at Phoenix this weekend. We'll talk more about that coming up here as well. But join us on X as well for our social media content. And, of course, here every week here as we keep this season going as well. And, folks, before we look ahead to Phoenix here this weekend, well, we need to look back. If I can get my computer to work here, we need to look back at COTA as well and St. Pete. So let's go to St. Petersburg, Florida here first because it was a fun weekend there in terms of the street racing, at least on the truck series size. It was kind of a preview to what we get this weekend with an IndyCar and a NASCAR mashup here as well there at St. Pete last weekend. So Saturday was the NASCAR Truck Series out there. First street course ever for the Truck Series. A lot of the questions going into it, how are these guys going to drive on here? Is it going to be a competitive race? Is it going to be an accident-filled race? Is it going to be a spinning out race as well there in St. Pete? And folks, I think we got a combination of it all, but I did enjoy the way the Truck Series raced here on this street course as well. So just for a symbolic state here, we're going to go to FS1 here where the racing was done here. Let's look at the first official green flag here in the Truck Series on a street course ever.
Green flag is in the air. We're making history as the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series races on a street course.
Oh!
A duck inside. You just talked about him.
Ben Rhodes.
Ben Rhodes with a big move. Battled for second.
He was locked up on the right front, Mikey, and I thought he was going to get into the 17 of Gio there, but he was able to whoa it up. Very aggressive on the start for Rhodes.
Here
nice
he comes
clean
again.
Start, guys.
Looking to the bottom. Ben's told Jamie's going to win this race, and I think he's showing he plans to do just that. They were three wide in the back, bouncing off of one another. Just a crazy start like we figured.
Very physical race here as well. A lot of that is just a lot of these guys were super competitive, right? Aggressive here, especially at the beginning of this race. It didn't light up as it went on. Some guys that were in this race, some IndyCar guys, for instance, well, they were up front there for a lot of this here and then just went backwards as the truck race went on, as their cars, their trucks at least, were struggling out there as well. I thought this was a competitive race overall. I thought it was fun. Now, I am not a street car or a road course racing guy. I do not generally like those races. I pay attention to them, obviously, because of what we do here, and I enjoy the sport. But it's not my favorite style of racing, especially at this level. Indy on street courses or road courses, love them to death. There's a different advantage here going forward. But I thought this was a competitive race. I thought guys, especially early in this race, some of them, as you saw there with Ben Rhodes being super aggressive early, some of them going three wide in areas they probably shouldn't. So good, I think, initial race there in St. Pete for the truck people as well. So, it was a fun race, lots of issues out there, even a competitive ending, which is what, no matter what the race is, I always say have a competitive ending because it kind of makes people want to come back for more, even if the beginning part of the race is a snoozer out there. Well, one thing that made this kind of competitive is my choice to win last week. I picked Ty Majeski to come into St. Pete and win this truck race. Well, he had the late lead, ends up finishing second here as well, but he did veer off the track here with the lead late. Well, here it is, truck 2 here, Majeski and his issues.
Right back on the tail as the 88 Ty Majeski gets wide. He's in the grass and into the tires.
He gets it back on course. How many spots does he give up? 4.
I mean, just look at it's actually 5 there as he finished there in the fifth spot. He goes on. Look, when he went off of that track, right? He hit that grass that was a little bit long, of course, dug in a little bit. He hit the tires there as well for Ty Majeski, but I was out feeling pretty good about myself. But Ty Majeski winning this thing till that, of course, happens. He did get competitive here on the last few laps as well. Ended up finishing, as I said, in second place here. Just not enough for Lane Riggs, of course, who ended up winning this race here this weekend. And Lane Riggs, look, even last year, he was the quote-unquote second best driver in the truck series behind the dominance there of Corey Heim, of course, in that race. Lane Riggs was low on fuel for about the last 8 laps, and he was able to hold on and even had enough gas. I mean, you question that, right, when you see him doing their donuts after they win. How low was their gas, really? Are you just lying to us a little bit there? Because if you have enough to do spin-outs, you had enough to race another lap or 2 out there as well. So, of course, Lane Riggs gets the win, even with the fuel. A lot of fuel was an issue here on the street course here for the truck guys as well. So let's check out Lane Riggs in his final lap here for the win. Here's truck 3.
He's showing that. Oh, look, he's taking
swerving.
his truck around.
I was just thinking these are all Fords.
Weave it as much as you can.
And they're weaving. Lane Riggs is in trouble.
Can he hang on a half lap, less than a half lap to go for the 34 of Lane Riggs? Does he have enough fuel to make it? Ty Majeski is there. 2 more turns.
Diving right to your bumper. He missed.
He missed.
We're going to be good.
And he does it. Lane Riggs. He sees the checkered flag. It is in the air, and it's Lane Riggs wins the first ever street course circuit for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
Woo. What a show.
Oh, my God.
I mean, you see there, Ty Majeski was going to go for it and try to do something there on that turn. Missed it, went wide again, and obviously cost him that lap. Was able to save second there as well. Lane Riggs in this race started 28th. He finished 7th after stage 1. 20 laps later at the end of stage 2, he won that stage there in stage 2 as well. Lane Riggs led a race best 41 of 80 laps here in the street course. I'm not going to say domination factor. If you just look at the stats, you could say that. But he had to earn, Lane did, that win here, of course, in that street race as well. Let's check with Lane Riggs after the race. Of course, it's his first win here in the truck series here this year. Let's go with it. Lane Riggs after the race, truck number 4.
Hey, first thing I'm going to say, thank you to Joey Hand. I know he's watching at home. My road course guy. He's the man. He helped me so much. We've been working on this racetrack and the simulator at Ford Racing since December. I really, really wanted to get my first win on a road course. The short track guy from Bahama, North Carolina, won at St. Pete. Right? Can you believe it? I've really been trying to perfect my craft. I feel like I've been close in the road courses, and just big shout out to everybody at Front Row Motorsports. Long John Silver's on the truck this weekend. It's just a dream come true. I literally said this year, I said, I just want to win a road course just to show I'm not just that short track guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's fantastic to me is, the driver that wins the championship, we're kind of getting this format back again this year. It's not that you just happen to win all the races in the period to advance on. The winner of a championship race needs to be an all-around racer, not just a short track guy, which is kind of what Lane Riggs is known for, right? You have to be good. Or an SVG, for instance, Shane Van Gisbergen. He is known as a road course racer or a street course racer as well. You have to be kind of well-rounded there. Look how hard Lane Riggs has been working. He just told you there in the offseason. They've had that racetrack in there for him to get there. He wants to win that race. He wants to work on his craft and improve his craft, as he said right there. That's phenomenal behind-the-scenes type of look here on these guys as they're trying to improve and not just be a one-dimensional racer out there. And Lane Riggs shows that there. with the victory here, of course, on the first street track ever in the Truck Series as well. Now, like I said, fuel was an issue. Lane Riggs had fuel issues, with about 8 laps to go. I think he said his light came on with about 8 laps to go. That's a lot of going. You heard his team there. That was who you heard there on the final lap there on Fox Sports. His team was telling him, hey, move around there. Lay off the pedal a little bit going into this. As soon as Ty Majeski missed on that last turn, it was all right. You can relax a little bit. Get to that finish line. Other guys, Ty Majeski with those misses, obviously struggling to get the pass there. Ben Rhodes couldn't mount a challenge, even though he was a very competitive driver here on the street race course as well. Ben Rhodes couldn't mount that challenge because he was having to save fuel to get to the end of this race at all. So I was kind of surprised that the fuel was an issue here. I guess it shouldn't be a surprise. It's just their first time racing on it. But you have enough people involved in your organization that can kind of foresee that and tell you how to race as you go on for the pit stops and surviving till the end. So I was a little bit surprised fuel was an issue here late in that race as well there at St. Pete. So for the Truck Series, we know Lane Riggs won it. We know Ty Majeski was second. Well, let's throw up that finishing order here. This will be Truck 5 for Kobe to throw up for us. They're pretty simple here in terms of the way the Truck Series has competed, the way the Truck Series has been running yet this year. And on a street course, it is interesting. Now, I'll tell you this, throw this away. They have another street course coming up, of course, in San Diego, when we get to San Diego coming up here in June. But you kind of just throw this one out. This is just one of those where you want to win it. This is one of those you want to be competitive in, but it does not make your season, right? With Ben Rhodes there in the third place spot, Chandler Smith in the fourth place. Caden Honeycutt had a heck of a day as well. He finished fifth for him. Landon Lewis comes in at sixth. Andres Perez de Laura there in seventh as well. Daniel Hemrick in eighth. Colin Braun there in ninth. And then James Hinchcliffe coming over and running in the Truck Series here in that 10th spot for him as well. Other guys to kind of pay attention to, Christian Eckes finished 15th in this race. Daniel Dye there in 17th. Jake Garcia 18th. Tanner Gray had some issues here in this race. Ends up at 20th spot for him. Grant Effinger, guys expected to be competing for at least a playoff spot here in the Truck Series. Having some tough times on the street course. Grant Effinger there at 22nd. Adam Andretti there in 23rd here, and he's starting his Truck Series. Even Gio Ruggiero there in 25th. Got one lap down for him as he struggles. Stuart Friesen. Dario Franchetti, of course, coming from the IndyCar side, getting in there. Had some good racing days. His cooler wouldn't work. He wasn't wearing a cool suit. Struggled there with the temperatures they're having in St. Pete. Frankie Muniz was out of this race as well. 74 laps for him. Tyler Ankrum, 70 laps and out as well. So some big-name guys. Now, it's a street race. You don't have too many of these here in the Truck Series. So let's take a deep breath. Let's regroup. Get back to our type of racing. Move forward. There was 6 cautions here for 17 laps in the Truck Series. 9 lead changes among 5 specific drivers as well for the Truck Series as well. Ratings for the Truck Series in St. Pete, really good, actually. This was a Saturday morning race here. 1,039,000 viewers watched Lane Riggs win that inaugural road or street course race there for the Truck Series in St. Petersburg. Let's throw up the Truck Series playoff points here after these 3 races. Like I said, it's way too early in the season to kind of worry about this, but just going to tell you how guys are running here so far as well. Tyler Ankrum, right? 3 points on the outside looking in. 10 spots, by the way, get to the playoffs in the Truck Series. Daniel Dye also 3 spots out. Jake Garcia, 9 out for him. So those are guys I expect to see battling, if not into the playoff side, when it's all said and done there as well. So you got Chandler Smith in first, Ben Rhodes, then Ty Majeski, Gio Ruggiero, who, as I said, did not have a fantastic race here, but got through it as well. Lane Riggs moving up to that 5th spot with that win, followed by Caden Honeycutt, Andres Perez de Laura as well in that race. Stuart Friesen and then Christian Eckes, again, not a good weekend for him is there. So just set up the playoff points. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of rotation. I do expect Tyler Ankrum to move up into that playoff spot. So who will drop down? things to that effect. No other notes from St. Pete as well. Tyler Reif, they had record weather there. It was really hot for these guys. Tyler Reif, he's driver of the 42 truck. He had to go to the hospital after the race for heat-related reasons. He was later released. Everything is fine and reported to be fine for him. But even Dario was struggling with the heat there. And as I said, his cooler wasn't working, and he struggled there at the end of that race as well. Truck Series is now off until March 20th. They'll get back underway again coming up on Darlington Speedway there in a couple weeks for the Truck Series. A little bit of a break here at the beginning of the season. Of course, they're in St. Pete. Well, Sunday came along. IndyCar got their season underway, and first race of the year, of course, before coming to Phoenix this weekend for their second race of the year. But IndyCar, well, it began the way that it kind of ended for the IndyCar series. Alex Palou comes out. He defends his St. Pete win from last year, defends his championship as well in the IndyCar circuit, and he does it again in dominating fashion for Alex Palou. He does win by the largest margin in the history of the event there at St. Pete for the IndyCar series. Dominating run to the point where I was kind of bored with this race as well because there were some good things to see in there, but this was a domination in the front a whole way through as well. Not only that, not a shocker, Alex comes out and does a great job in his first race, kind of what we were expecting. But IndyCar also did what I always say they do, and I take some grief from it from some people out there. My problem with IndyCar is there's always a lap one crash that wrecks out a bunch of people. And it's frustrating that it happens. And a lap one wreck crash happened in this one as well. Took out 3 drivers. It had 3 drivers in it. 2 of those drivers were knocked out of the race just in lap one, folks. Yeah, Mitch Shoemaker, who is a rookie, a highly touted rookie. Everybody wants to see how his season's going to go with IndyCar. Well, we have to wait till this weekend. Hopefully he can survive lap one. It's coming over from the F1 series. So Mitch Shoemaker out of this race, and everybody was wanting to see how he would perform here in this first IndyCar race. Santino Ferrucci also out of the race in that lap one early. Stingray Bob was involved with that as well there. So IndyCar doing what it does. Hopefully that doesn't translate to what we see. Last time I saw IndyCar at Phoenix, almost half of the race car drivers knocked out in the first couple laps of the race in a big wreck. It was hard to watch after that, right? So hopefully they got that out of their system there in St. Pete as well. So throw up the finishing order here for the IndyCars. Obviously, I've told you, Alex Palou gets the win, like was expected that he would do, of course, in this series as well. Now, can he keep it going and everything? Other just notes here that you kind of want to pay attention to. Second place there. Fantastic run here by some of these guys. Scott McLaughlin, he was very happy afterwards. I was watching off his post-race. Very happy with the second place finish for him, starting very fairly back in the back as well for him. Pato O'Ward, they weren't happy with their finish there in the 5th spot. They expect some more stuff to perform for them out there, but a 5th place finish for him as well. Josef Newgarden came from the back of this racetrack. Got up there, finished 7th. They were very happy with the way their day went after just being in the back here to start that race for him as well. They're at St. Pete on the street course. Now you're going to an oval course, different style of racing here coming up for these guys coming up this weekend. So IndyCars, going from street to oval this weekend. Other notes around St. Pete for the IndyCar circuit last weekend. Will Power, with his new team, Andretti Global, and that was a tough weekend for Will Power and that team. It was not just a struggle on the race. It started at practice as well. Power ended up 42 laps down when the race finally finished for him. Is this going to be, and what type of a rebound is this that team specifically with Andretti Global going to have this weekend in Phoenix? Can they turn it around, or do the struggles continue? Obviously, a big move there by Real Power, move it over to that team. As I told you there, when we were looking at the finish study there, the finish, the way they finished. Josef Newgarden drove through the field. He moved up 16 spots during the race to finish that 7th place. Very happy with the way they ran, getting up to that 7th spot as well. So after one race, look, folks, I get it. Way too early, but we'll just hit it up anyway. Championship points here for IndyCar. This will be Indy 2, Kobe, if we can throw that up as well. Alex Blau, no shocker, leads with 53 points with winning that race. Scott McLaughlin finished second there, 42 points. Christian Lundgaard there finishing with 36 points here. Kyle Cookwood at 32. Then, of course, Pato O'Ward there in the 5th spot with 30 championship points here for the IndyCar. Way too early, just the way they finished in the race, of course, is where they put them into. But just give you an idea going into this weekend of Phoenix on the drivers that are there. Does anybody have it? We'll look at that when we look ahead to this weekend's racing. Does anybody have anything for the Palau team there in Chip Ganassi Racing specifically? So next up, obviously, is Phoenix this weekend. We've talked about it a lot. Saturday race here. One of 3 Saturday races for IndyCar on their schedule with this doubleheader here between IndyCar and the NASCAR Series coming up on Saturday as well. So we'll talk about that coming up here as well. But, of course, other racing that happened this weekend, Saturday night, O'Reilly Series at COTA, Circuit of the Americas. And then Cup Series on Sunday as well after the NASCAR Series. I like waking up and watching NASCAR or IndyCar and move right into the NASCAR Series as well. Kind of a fun thing to do. And this weekend going to be a little bit different. At least we'll see IndyCar Saturday afternoon. O'Reilly Series on Saturday night here as well. So the racing over at Austin, Texas. I told you at the top of the show, I'm just not a street racing and a road course guy with the NASCAR circuit. I do enjoy it with IndyCar. So, my expectations were low going into this COTA race here at Austin, Texas. Just low. However, I will tell you, even though, SVG wins the O'Reilly race, I will tell you that race became very eventful there until the last several races, as SVG had to earn that victory in the O'Reilly Series. Then the Tyler Reddick win and the Cup Series led to some more exciting racing. Is he going to be able to keep SVG back? So there was some intrigue in these races, which normally I don't find very fun to watch out there in that series. So we'll start here with the O'Reilly Series, and stop me if you heard this before. Yes, I did not pick SVG because he was the favorite. I went with the other favorite out there, little young 19-year-old Connor Zilic. Well, he had some issues. We'll talk about that coming up, bud. Stop me if you heard this before, right? SVG wins the road course in the O'Reilly Series. Now, it is a little bit different because SVG was winless in of course, COTA here since he's been on the NASCAR circuit. So gets his first win there as well. But how did he get the win? Well, it was a late restart, and it was a very brilliant move by him that got SVG the win. He took the inside line into turn 1 after the restart. About 5 laps left. Van Gisbergen made the 4-wide pass for the lead, and he was in the 6th position when he made that pass as well. Of course, went on and pulled away to win his 5th race of his career in this series, the O'Reilly Series now. And he won this race by 0.78 seconds over Austin Hill, who finished second here in this race on Saturday. Now, that's 0.78 seconds was kind of deceiving. It felt like it was closer than that. But once he took that lead on that 4-wide pass, look, the O'Reilly Series, these guys were 3 wide going into turns. Several times, SVG and his competitors were 3 wide into turns. We saw it all over the track. So it made a lot of intrigue here going forward as well. So let's show you here. Let's go to the CW right now. And here's the race to the white flag, or to the checkered flag, I believe it is. Here's O'Reilly 1.
Turn 19 to turn 20. He'll make the left-hander and see that checkered flag. From Auckland, New Zealand, king of the road, Shane Van Gisbergen wins it at Circuit of the Americas.
Big drift off the final corner. That's classic SVG stuff. If you grew up watching him in supercars, he used to do that often to celebrate his wins. That's pretty cool.
Did that look like 0.78 seconds of a victory there for him? It just felt like it was a little bit close. I mean, there was no danger of him losing that race there at the end, but it was kind of interesting to see that. Van Gisbergen did lead 31 laps here in this race. Took the lead 5 times in it, but ended up leading 31 laps here as well. Austin Hill in second place, ended up leading 4 laps here also for him. So the win was Shane Van Gisbergen's first at COTA, as I told you earlier. It's his second O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race at that specific track. He is winless, though, in 2 NASCAR Cup Series. Before Sunday, he was winless there in the Cup Series starts at the Texas Road Course. So now he's 0 for 3, as we all know Tyler Reddick ended up winning that race. The victory was his 10th straight on road courses for JR Motorsports as well. JR Motorsports, obviously, with him driving, is very deal, along with Connor Zilic last year as well, as what we were looking at that point. Let's flip the finish order here at COTA for the O'Reilly Series. Right now, this will be O'Reilly 2. You know, SVG got the win. Austin Hill in second place. Sammy Smith finishes third here at COTA. Jesse Love in fourth. Corey Day comes in 5th. And then Brent Cruz there in 6th. William Solwich there in 7th. Justin Allgaier in 8th. Ross Chastain coming down from the Cup Series and getting the win there, or getting the 9th place finish, I should say, not the win, the 9th place finish, followed by Brendan Poole there in the 10th spot at that point. Other named guys here that you see on that list, Sheldon Creed finished 11th, Taylor Gray in 12th, as well. Sam Mayer finished 14th, Ryan Sieg there in 16th as well. So in terms of big name guys, Jeff Burton ended up finishing 18th as well. Connor Zillers finished 21st. We'll talk about him in just a minute now. Just not a good day for him and his team either that he is looking at. Parker Reislef there finished 30th in terms of name. Harrison Burton in 29th as well there at COTA in terms of big name guys that you kind of look for here in this O'Reilly series as well. Of course, my pick, Connor Zilic. Got to pick it. I just picked the wrong one to have a bad day out there. Well, what happened to Connor? Well, after he led 12 laps during the first stage, the left rear brake rotor on his Chevrolet, well, it had some problems. It exploded. I believe the word they used was sheared. I don't know what that means. Split in half, I guess. But it exploded. And he dropped backwards in the field. He had to stop for repairs on those real brakes at that point. So you need brakes here, folks, on a street course. Well, he started the final stage at 29th place, and he had worked his way back up forward in this race as well. So 29th spot, gets up, 3 laps to go. Yeah, he had just cleared a Day's car there for 4th place. So he had fantastic driving there by Connor Zilic. I thought for sure I was going to sneak out a victory in this by picking him, but then he got contact as he passed Day's car there for that 4th spot, and it sent Zilic's car spinning. Of course, damaged his number 1 Camaro there as well, and not able to compete, obviously, after that for the victory for Connor Zilic in this race. 21st spot here for him in the O'Reilly Series that we were looking at there. But look, I love it when guys get down. They have to get the repairs done. They're just in the back of it with 1 stage to go, and boom, they're right there in the conversation for the end. You got to give him credit for getting up to that point before ultimately succumbing to a lesser finish after that contact there with Day's car as well. That's Corey Day as well. Now let's throw up the playoff points here. I know we're 3 races into the season. This will be O'Reilly 3 here for this. Yep, Austin Hill, not a shocker with his wins earlier in the season. He's still leading there. Jesse Love is in second. Justin Allgaier, Sheldon Creed, Carson Wappel, Roger Carruth there in 6th spot. Sammy Smith in 7th. Corey Day there in 8th. Parker Retzlaff there in 9th. He had a bad day there at COTA. Sam Mayer as well, bad day, 10th place. Brandon Jones, and then Brendan Poole there drop out. 12 cars make it to the playoffs. Taylor Gray, William Solwich, as well on the outside looking in. Those are 2 drivers I would expect to be competing for a playoff spot here coming up at the end of the year as well. So we've had 2 drafting tracks for the O'Reilly and the Cup Series, right? And we've had 1 road course as well. this weekend in Phoenix. We're getting into a 1 mile oval here. We're going to start seeing some of these speedsters get back out there again. I'm looking forward to it. The first 3 races of the season, competitive, but let's get out there and see these guys that are just wheelmen behind their cars and have some fun here coming up as well. The ratings for the O'Reilly Series, the CW, earned 1,072,000 total viewers. For that race there at the Circuit of the Americas, we get this from Nielsen Panel, plus Big Data is their new format that they use. The opening 3 races of the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series season, well, they've all had over 1 million viewers to start this season. And I told you before, that's fantastic. I can't watch a CW race live. The app doesn't have it. I don't have cable. So I kind of have to follow it on social medias or get up the next morning and catch it. And I can watch it in the morning. This week was a little hard with IndyCar and then Cup Series on Sunday. But first couple races I watched it the morning of. But still, 1 million million of you are able to tune in at least. Going forward, of course, next up for the O'Reilly Series, well, Phoenix, Saturday night, 7:30 p.m. on the CW. That's 7:30 Eastern. 5:30 p.m. here in Phoenix as we'll be out there after that IndyCar race on Saturday as well. Of course, also at COTA this weekend, well, the Cup Series, and that came up on Sunday. Tyler Reddick did, in fact, make history on Sunday there at the Circuit of the Americas. He won the race to make it 3 in a row. Well, that's not a record breaker, right? We saw Christopher Bell do that last year, but Christopher Bell did it in races after the first one. Tyler Reddick, yes, winning 3 in a row here to start the season in his 2311 car. Toyota, well, Tyler Reddick led a race-high 58 of the 95 laps. He had to hold off SVG at the end to secure the win. SVG was right behind him, trying to get Tyler Reddick to make a mistake so he could get past him. And Tyler Reddick just flawless driving by Tyler Reddick. Of course, Michael Jordan, who's the part owner of the 2311 team, he's very familiar with three-peats, and now he has one in NASCAR as well as in the NBA. It was funny watching Michael Jordan's comments after this race. He said, hey, the third one's the hardest one to win when you go up for consecutive ones. And everything. So they got that win there. Just excitement all over the place. I was thinking about this as well. I'll just go to side note here. Just how disappointing if they don't finish first this week in Phoenix. Just how disappointed are they going to be going into that? Even if they finish second, they'll be like, we could have gotten 4th place, right, coming up. Well, here's the checkered flag. NASCAR 1, please.
This could not be done. Winning the first 3 races of a NASCAR season. No one has ever done it. Not since 1949. It happens today. 3-peat for Tyler Reddick. 2311 in Toyota.
Yeah, guys. Great work.
Just Michael Jordan's again out there as well. Reddick maintained the lead after the restart on lap 79. The Ross Chastain at that point, he won stage 1, and then Jennison went backwards, but he lost the wheel. I thought Ross Chastain was going to be very competitive as this race went on, but he, of course, lost his wheel, folks. It caused the 3rd caution of the afternoon. By the way, that was the only caution for an on-track incident. The other ones were stage breaks out there. So leave it to Ross Chastain to get that only yellow flag out there. So Van Gisbergen, well, he restarted 3rd. He went past Ryan Blaney in that restart. He secured the 2nd position to go on that downhill slide after you go through the start-finish line and through the S's. So SVG is how he got there into that 2nd spot. For the first 8 laps of the final 18-lap green flag run, SVG was all over the back of Tyler Reddick. Just kind of putting pressure on him, trying to make a run, backing off a little bit, just to see. Let's see if Reddick can make a mistake out there. But Reddick held his cool and drove flawlessly there, gradually pulled ahead to get that victory as well here at COTA. So the ending of these races, right, keeping the road course great at bay was fantastic for Tyler Reddick as this season has moved on as well. Tyler Reddick after the race, well, he's a nonchalant kind of guy. so I didn't pull his audio here. I was more curious on the SVG side of things. Right? SVG, after the race, finished second here, won the series, is expected to win these road courses. There's no question about it. Plus, SVG needs to win these road courses. Finishing second gets you a lot of points, but he needs to win these races to qualify for the playoffs and be in playoff contention. Now, he was better there in the ovals earlier this season. Can that continue? That'll obviously take some pressure on him here on these road courses. So I was curious on SVG's mentality after finishing second and not being able to catch Tyler Reddick. Here's Shane Van Gisbergen after the race, NASCAR 2.
Yeah, it's weird to be disappointed with second, but this series is just at a high level, and I felt okay. We got our safety culture Chevy a lot better than yesterday, but just following Tyler, his driving was immaculate, and his car was very good too. So I tried, but didn't quite have enough, but still a great points day for the 97.
I think at one point, if I remember correctly, on the radio, you heard SVG say, I don't have it for him. I don't have enough for him as they were racing there and trying to catch up to him as Tyler Reddick was slowly starting to pull away. I do like his comment there, his smile, right? It's hard to be disappointed with a second-place finish. But when you are the road course god out there, you're expected to win it, right? Moving forward. So throw up the finishing order here at COTA as well. This will be NASCAR 3 for the weekend. Tyler Reddick, Shane Van Gisbergen obviously second. Christopher Bell finished third, folks. Now, it was a distant third there, but Christopher Bell, who of course won this race last year. This was part of his race number 2 of his three-peat last year. Of course, came into Phoenix and won it here as well. Ty Gibbs, shockingly, there finished fourth. You don't see Ty Gibbs on the front very often. Michael McDowell in fifth. Kyle Larson in sixth, as we're starting to see some Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott sightings. Chase Elliott finished seventh here. Ryan Blaney in eighth. AJ Allmendinger, who's really good at road courses as well, in the ninth spot. And Denny Hamlin comes in at 10th, followed by Bubba Wallace there, the 2311 teammate there of Tyler Reddick. Kyle Busch in 12th. William Byron had some medical stuff happening, had to leave his race car as well coming up this weekend. And those questions on what he's doing, we'll have news on that coming up for you. Joey Logano 15th as well in that Ford, just to sum that up for you there. Of course, way early in the season, let's go ahead and throw up the playoff points, though. This is NASCAR 4. Where we stand, obviously it's not a shocker to you. Tyler Reddick is running away with the playoff points. So much so, now he can get caught, but so much so he's building a big enough lead here that if disaster happens and he doesn't make the playoffs, well, that would be an absolute shock out there as well for that. His teammate, Bubba Wallace, has had a good start to the season. Yes, he finished outside the top 10 here at COTA, but he's had a great start to the season. He's in that second spot. Then you got Chase Elliott in third. Chase Elliott last year, if you remember, didn't win. I think he won one race last year, but he was always way up there. He's just finishing there. He finishes in the top 10, top 5, consistently enough that he's always up there in points, even without multiple wins. Then you got Ryan Blaney, SVG, right there in the 5th spot. After this race, Joey Logano there in 6th, Daniel Suarez in 7th, AJ Allmendinger in 8th, Michael McDowell, Carson Hocevar, who was Carson Hocevar the week before said, well, I'm going to go embarrass myself next week at COTA. Well, there you go, right? He's in 10th spot in the deal. Chris Buescher, Brad Keselowski, William Byron, Zane Smith, Kyle Larson gets on the positive side this week by 8 points, followed by Ryan Preece out there as well. Ty Gibbs with his strong finish. Outside looking in right now, Ross Chastain outside looking in as well. And folks, when you lose a tire, that means penalties come your way as well. And I said William Byron earlier had to leave the car. I apologize. Alex Bowman had to leave the car there at COTA. We'll talk about him coming up as well. Had to get a replacement driver in there. We'll talk about that coming up. But when you lose a tire, that means penalties come to your team as well. So rear tire changer Kenneth, Poziga and Jackman there for the number 1 team, Josh Appleby. They will be, of course, suspended here coming up for this weekend. The right tire detached from the wheel on the racetrack on lap 75. Of course, that happened under green flag. It led to the only caution of the day that was not scheduled. The penalties, of course, come anytime this happens with the lost tire. So 2-race suspension, 2 pit members, and a 2-lap penalty, which they serve there in COTA as well for Ross Chastain as well. So he did ultimately finish in that 35th spot, 2 laps down because of that as well. So both of these guys are going to be sidelined here for this weekend and next weekend in Las Vegas. They'll return there for Darlington Raceway for them. So there are penalties there with losing a car, and ratings for a COTA race here for the Cup Series. Well, it's on Fox there, and Fox got a 2.06 rating. That basically means 3.933 million people tuned in for that COTA race. Well, that's a big number, but it was way down. 4.132 million people watched that race last year. What's the difference? It's easy to point at that and go, NASCAR's ratings are down. Well, what happened over the weekend? If you were paying attention to world affairs, yeah. There were huge increases in cable TV news viewership over the weekend due to that U.S.-Iran war that kind of broke out. Cable news viewership as a whole was up 64% over the last week during that race. Yeah. So a lot of people switched their eyeballs to cable viewership, CNN, Fox, whatever, and watched that, which probably hurt viewership there on the NASCAR side of things. I do think the numbers would probably have been down. Did 1 million people switch over? I'm not sure about that, but you could certainly attribute that the decrease there in the viewing because of those world news events out there as well. We talk a little bit of news here around NASCAR as well. There's a lot of sponsorship news and things we generally don't touch on unless it's a big deal. But in all sponsorships, a big deal. Don't get me wrong. But on Monday, a federal judge ruled that former Joe Gibbs Racing competition director, we're talking about the Chris Gabehart, Joe Gibbs Racing lawsuit out there. Well, that judge ruled on Monday that Chris Gabehart can continue to work for Spire Motorsports, but he cannot work as the role that he performed with Joe Gibbs Racing. I don't get this because, okay, so he's not the competition director. Not going to go be a jackman, but he can still come in and have an input and stuff to that effect. But judge ruled that on Monday. He can continue to work. There's no judgment or keeping him from showing up to work in Spire Motorsports. He just can't have that same title there as well. The judge also put out an order that both sides, well, they need to attempt to find a resolution following that hearing that they had last Friday. The ruling that he can continue to work came out on Monday. It's from that hearing as well, there for that temporary restraining order as well. So said, hey, get together and talk about this and solve this. If a solution isn't able to come up with, well, the judge set a March 16th date for a full hearing regarding Gabehart's employment with Spire Motorsports from that perspective. So that's big news there. He's continued to be there and report to work at Spire Motorsports, just in a different role. I think usually these types of things, to be honest with you, they get settled with money and some assertions out there of, he has none of our stuff. Spire can't look at any of the stuff that he does have, that type of stuff. If that doesn't happen, it'll be interesting to see on this March 16th court date on if he's continuing to work with Spire with no settlement coming up from there. Next up for the Cup Series, well, Phoenix, of course. It's 3:30 p.m. Eastern time this Sunday, which means 12:30 Phoenix time as the time change happens this weekend. We don't change our time here in Phoenix, but we do go on the Pacific time zone area, even though we don't change here. So it'll be at 12:30 start time here in Phoenix coming up this weekend. And when we come back, let's look ahead to racing this weekend. We have a doubleheader between 2 series out there, IndyCar and the NASCAR OReilly Series, and of course the Cup Series on Sunday after those guys. Let's get into it, pick our winners, the pit stop, folks. Thanks for joining us. Stay with us here. Let's have some fun. And we're back here at the pit stop. You just saw, right? We have the main event here that we produce. TME Media produces that here. Robat TV, of course, live 8 to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday. Catch us now on demand at Robat TV if you have the subscription, or on our YouTube page of our production company, TME Media AZ is where you can find that. It has all of our shows. The pit stop goes on to that. The main event, McCollum on Business, The Real Matrix, well, partially on there. The Real Matrix is actually over on Rumble there. It's more suited for that audience and that system compared to YouTube. Of course, visit TME Media AZ on YouTube to catch all of our programming that we do, that we put out there. We do produce other shows out there that go out in other formats and other companies. If you need a production company or anything to that effect, reach out to us. We'd love to work with you there as well, here in our new studios that we have. As we're looking for a bigger space, we need to grow. We need to continue to grow. So we're in this space here, and it's just a fabulous one as well that we all deal with. Don't forget all the podcast systems, free podcast systems at TME Sports Show, at the Pit Stop Talk for us here. Just search the title of the names, and it pops up for you. Real Matrix has its free podcast as well. Only one that does not on those programs I mentioned is McCollum on Business. There as well. On Rumble, if you search The Real Matrix or at TME Media, it comes up there as well if you want to catch The Real Matrix there. That new episodes come out for that, by the way, on Fridays at noon on Rumble and the podcast system. Follow us here, for this show at the Pit Stop Talk on X. We'd love to see you there and talk back and forth on the racing weekend. Of course, during the races, I'm generally on Twitter talking about what's happening out there. We'll be out at Phoenix this weekend as well. We're not going out to the ARCA race tonight, but we'll be out there for practice, qualifying runs for tomorrow night, Friday night, and, of course, all day Saturday there for the IndyCar OReilly Series, and moving on to the Cup Series on Sunday. So definitely follow us at the Pit Stop Talk as well. TME Sports Show for the main event, folks, as well. And we also have TME Media AZ on Twitter, on X. Follow us there as well. That's just our parent company, right, that will put out everything about shows. Just put that up here today. Any announcements or shorts we'll put out there and get them retweeted out by our sites as well. But enough of that nonsense of filling, what's going on everywhere else. We have racing this weekend here in Phoenix as well. Don't forget the Truck Series is off until March 20th. They get this week off. They get Vegas off next week as well. But plenty of racing happening this weekend and then next weekend in Las Vegas as well. As I said, if you're an ARCA fan and you enjoy watching that, well, it happens on Thursday night this year. It is usually on a Friday night. I usually go out there. I know a couple of the teams. Well, not making it out there here on Thursday night for it, but IndyCar is Saturday at 1 p.m. Phoenix time, 3 p.m. Eastern. The O'Reilly races after that, 5:30 p.m. here in Phoenix, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. And I've already told you here, the Cup Series, Sunday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. And with that time change, 12:30 here in Phoenix time. And as we adjust here to West Coast time, even though we don't change here as well. But let's get into the racing that's going to happen this weekend. And, we looked at the racing last weekend here, obviously at the top of the show. And after one race there at St. Pete in Florida, coming here to Arizona, where it's going to be a little warm this weekend. Not as warm as it was last weekend. But, the one race into this 2026 IndyCar season, Alex Palou, of course, is continuing his domination. Josef Newsgarden made that big run last weekend, as we told you about. Can he build onto that and have some success going to this Phoenix race on the 1 mile oval? Will Powell struggling all last weekend with his new team. Well, is there improvement going into this weekend? Do they turn it around and not have issues? Something to pay attention to. Scott McLaughlin was happy with that second place finish last week. He won the pole, by the way, at St. Pete as well. Does that speed come here as well to where he's able to get a victory as well coming up this weekend? Those are just some of the questions we have going into this race weekend. And it's interesting, will there be a lap one race, a wreck that we have to deal with and contend with that'll take out a couple people we want to see out there? Of course, a street course to a short oval, well, it brings us different skill set here for these drivers. A lot less braking this weekend as these guys are cruising around this 1 mile oval. Who gets caught up in that lap 1 wreck? Ruins their day. That's another thing to pay attention to. And not only that, but Alex Palau is coming into this weekend. He's looking at history in the IndyCar circle. This is going to be his 100th series start when he starts on Saturday. He already has 20 career wins. So what that means is, with his 100th start, he's already assured of winning at least 20% of his first 100 races. That is something no other active driver has accomplished on the IndyCar circuit. He has been that dominant. As anybody that followed IndyCar last year knows how dominant that he has been as well. Scott Dixon, Will Power, Josef Newgarden, they actually have more career series victories than Palau does. But none of them reached their 100th race with as many trips to victory lane at that time. Scott Dixon has 59 wins. Will Powell has 45. Josef Newgarden has 32 career series victories. But they weren't able to have a high number going to that 100th win. Power had the most wins in his 100th race, and closest to that 20, he had 18 at that point. Dixon and Newgarden had only 7 wins in their first 100 races there. So, shows you the dominance that the Chip Ganassi team has had here with Alex Palau as their driver. This is the first series race in Phoenix for IndyCar since 2018, which means most drivers on the circuit, they've never raced at Phoenix. They were out here doing some testing a couple weeks ago as drivers were out here testing their cars and kind of dialing them in and seeing what it does here on this oval. But look, that doesn't do racing conditions here as it would be back in 2018. Scott Dixon has made 6 starts here in Phoenix from 2003 to 2005, 2016 to 2018 for him. He's a 6-time series champion. He won the race in 2016. He finished second back in 2004. Newgarden, Power, Alexander Rossi, even Graham Rahal. Well, they're the other drivers with 3 series starts here in the Arizona desert here in Phoenix. Power finished third in 2018. He was second in 2017. Newgarden actually had won that race back in 2018. Rossi finished third. Dixon fourth in that year. Rahal's best finish was 5th back in 2016 as well. So a lot of new drivers here on the oval, and a lot of guys, even if they have experience, it's been a while since they've been there as well. So who's going to win this weekend at the 1 Mile Phoenix Oval for IndyCar? Well, let's take a look back here a little bit. We've already given you who started here before with these new drivers coming in. But if we look back to last year, there were 6 oval races on last year's schedule for IndyCars. Palau did win 2 of those races. One-time winners, Pato O'Ward, Kyle Cookwood, Christian Rasmussen, and Josef Newgarden were the other winners on the ovals. Kind of gives us an insight here on who's going to be fast enough to get that win and be in the front here to get that win here in Phoenix as well. I don't know if this matters at all, but they generally don't race on Saturdays. So that's a 1 race up ahead. And this is one of 3 Saturday races on the 2026 schedule. I don't know if that worries these guys. I don't know if that's a concern. I don't know if that matters at all. But just a little nugget there that I guess we can blame, right, if our guy doesn't win it out there. Who do I have winning this weekend? I don't know. There's ovals. There's 6 of them on the circuit last year. Are any of them close to what Phoenix is with that dog leg, which they will not come into play with how low these guys are to the ground at all? But does that hinder these guys at all? Is it just going to be straight speed going into these turns for these IndyCar guys? I'm going to go with somebody that did win on an oval last year, somebody that came from far back in the field and got to 7th place last weekend on the street course in Florida. I do like Scott McLaughlin. I think he's got a serious chance. Obviously, the main guy, you're always going to pick him, is Alex Palau moving forward. I'm going to go with Josef Newgarden this weekend to get the win here in Phoenix. He's going to get up into that front. He's going to have a good qualifying session and pole session here. I think he's just going to stay up in that front. Now, it's going to be a battle for him to win. I think he's got the confidence after last week. I think he's got the speed as well. And if anybody needs a great start to the season, it's Josef Newgarden in terms of being there at the end. Because last year, He struggled at the beginning and kind of round his way up. So kind of reverse that here. So I have Josef Newgarden getting the win here on Saturday with the IndyCar Series. Now, Saturday night, you got the O'Reilly race. The O'Reilly race coming up. I'm a little stuffy here today, folks, and my brain doesn't always work right, as you can hear. But the O'Reilly race, goes under the lights here in Phoenix this weekend. I already told you, but green flag, just to refresh, it's going to be around 5:30 p.m. Phoenix time, 7:30 Eastern. It's going to be after they clear off all the IndyCar action and do all their victory stuff and everything. As I told you, Phoenix is a 1 mile oval. Speed does come into play here, but also green flag pit stops come into play. There's usually a lot of green laps here, especially in the middle of these races. You might have some issues at the beginning of the race where there might be a couple yellows, but once everybody settles in, it goes green and it stays green as these cars just drive around in the circles. Then things can happen at the end of the race where pit stops can come in under green in order to get the stop. Even late yellows can cause issues here on pit stops. It's going to be kind of the winning ticket this weekend if you can tackle those issues as well. We've moved away from the drafting tracks, right? Daytona, Atlanta. We've moved away from the road course for this week as well. For the next couple of weeks here between Phoenix and Las Vegas coming up as well. So who's got the speed? Who's got the pit crew to get them out of the pit stop with minimal attention, minimal problems to keep them in the front of this race here as it goes on? What I'm going to pay attention to is this is the first speed track here that we're dealing with this weekend where you don't have to worry about drafting. So I'm going to pay attention to practice. That's going to be this Friday, 7 to 7:50 p.m. Eastern time. That means 5 to 5:50 p.m. Eastern time here in Phoenix on Friday night for the O'Reilly Series. I'm going to pay attention to that. I'm going to pay attention to qualifying. At 6:05 to 9 p.m. Here in Phoenix. I'm sorry, 6:05 to 7 p.m. here in Phoenix. 8:05 to 9 p.m. Eastern time for those of you that catch us here on the East Coast. I'm going to pay attention to practice and qualifying on Friday night. I'm going to be out there for it as well. I want to see what team brings the speed this weekend. First time we're going to see it here in the first three races of the O'Reilly Series. How do the traditional speedster teams look like, right? JR Motorsports, how do they look out there? Jesse Love, Justin Allgaier, Carson Guapel, Sheldon Creed, how do they look out there opening up these cars here, practicing qualifying this weekend? I do think the winner is going to come out of the group that I just mentioned right there as well here on the O'Reilly Series this weekend. Look, I like the way he's raced the beginning part of this year. I've already picked him twice to win, once at Daytona and once at Atlanta. Didn't work out for me at all. I do think Jesse Love is going to come into this race and have a lot of speed going into it. I think his pit crew is going to be polished to where they're going to get him in and out when they need to, if there is a late caution or you need a pit at the end of this race under a green flag. I think Jesse Love is going to get the win here on the O'Reilly circuit. The other side note here, Jesse Love, if you don't win this weekend, I'm probably not going to pick you the rest of the year. That's 3 times I'm picking you. And hasn't been there at all, right? So I'm going to go that route with Jesse Love here as well. And then the Cup Series gets underway. Sunday, 3:30 p.m., as I told you, Eastern time, 12:30 here in Phoenix. As we don't move, as I said, we don't move our time, but we do move back and forth between Pacific and Mountain time, even though we don't move out there. But there's breaking news this afternoon. Last week, breaking right as we were coming to showtime, last week, Alex Bowman had to leave the COTA race. Wasn't feeling well. They had to get a backup racer into that car, gets back out there. Well, we now know kind of what he's been diagnosed with out there. The breaking news is Alex Bowman will not be racing in Phoenix this weekend. He began experiencing symptoms during Sunday's road course there at COTA, and he exited the car at lap 71 last week. This week, he's been to the doctor. He's done some road testing out there to see how he feels in the car. Well, he's officially been diagnosed with vertigo, according to NASCAR. So he's not racing this weekend for him. So who's going to drive his car? Well, Anthony Alfredo is going to fill in this weekend at Phoenix for Alex Bowman as well. So Hendrick Motorsports will request a medical waiver to allow Bowman to remain eligible, as you do here, for that 2026 championship run here in the playoffs. Why does this specifically matter? One, well, we hope Alex Bowman feels better and gets over the vertigo, so he's able to drive again. But 2, that takes at least one Hendrick Motorsports car that I'm going to take off of the win this weekend. Going to give him basically no chance to win with Anthony Alfredo in that car. It's not a knock on Alfredo. It's just he doesn't have the experience to get up there. He doesn't have the speed to drive up there in the Cup Series. And so I'm going to take that car out of it. So one car I don't think has a chance to win this weekend. That would be it. So we know that this 1 mile oval, as we talked about with the O'Reilly series, we know it requires speed and green pit stops, possibly a late yellow pit stop to win this race. And I'm assuming drivers who struggle with drafting in road courses, I'm assuming they're anxious to get out here onto a traditional oval. 1 mile oval here, 1.5 miles in Vegas next weekend as well, where you're going to get back out there and you just can dominate with the speed and that type of strategy on the course. I'm talking about drivers like Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin do better here on these ovals than they do on the tracks we've already raced here on the Cup Series. The question I got is this. Is there pressure on Tyler Reddick this weekend? Won 3 in a row. He's looking to win 4. That's the conversation when he gets to the media center and talks to the media. That's going to be the conversation all week. Can you win 4 in a row? Can you win 4 in a row? Is that going to put pressure on him to continue this win streak? Or is it all, as they say, gravy this weekend? Is he just coming in going, hey, let's just go out there and run. Whatever happens, happens. We've won 3 already. Or are they coming in determined to finish with a great finish, another win possibly, or a top 5 finish? They're going to put pressure on themselves to do that. One thing I know in motorsports, right, you dominate and you win for a while, it goes away quickly, and it goes away for a while. So what's the attitude going to be for Tyler Reddick? I'm fascinated to see how it's going to be. Do we figure out during the interviews on what his attitude is going into this? I'm not saying they're not going to try, but could there just be a natural letdown after 3 victories in a row? Or do you come in with the same attitude and the stylings as you did in the first 3 races? That is kind of a wild card this weekend with Tyler Reddick. Look, they've shown with the drafting tracks and the road course, we know that 2311s can be fast out there. We know Bubba Wallace can be in the front of this race. Bubba Wallace usually does something late in the race or gets involved in something that knocks him out of it. Tyler Reddick's going to be there to finish this. Are the RFK guys going to get up there? Right? Brad Keselowski, Chris Buescher, are they going to be able to compete here for this race this weekend? Do the Chevrolets dominate the speed with their new body style? Does Toyota have a say in it this weekend? Joe Gibbs Racing, for instance, have anything to say about it? Last time racing happened here in Phoenix, Denny Hamlin was well on his way to winning that race, but also the championship. Late race things happened, famously, and Kyle Busch was able to get that victory in the championship. Does that motivate Denny Hamlin this weekend to kind of get out here as well? Obviously, a lot of times they use this race kind of as a preview in terms of testing and getting their car ready for the championship race. Championship race moving to Miami, Homestead this year. Is that a factor going to this week as well for the playoffs coming up with the new playoff format? Tyler Reddick will be in the conversation this weekend to win this race. But I do think he will ultimately not win. Winning 4 in a row has got to be just ultimately difficult to do. Does his teammate, we mentioned him, Bubba Wallace, has a great opening 3 races here. Does he get a win here in Phoenix? He'll be fast as well. Yeah, well, something always goes wrong for Bubba in these races. He's not there at the end, whether he wrecks out or something happens to his car, a pit stop issue. I don't think he'll be up there either. Does Hendrick Motorsports get the setup right this weekend? Does that speed show up for the first time this year? Well, I'm expecting it too. We have seen races here in Phoenix where Hendrick Motorsports aren't there at the end. I do think we're going to see that this weekend for these guys. How does Joe Gibbs Racing team compete this weekend? And I'm talking specifically about Denny Hamlin and Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell has success here in Phoenix. He's been in the Final Four a few times here in Phoenix. He's won here in Phoenix a la last year as well. Does Denny Hamlin kind of rebound and get up here to the front this weekend? Bell should be in this race at the end. I also expect Denny Hamlin to be up there as well. I do not expect the Penske Ford specifically. I already talked about RFK. They'll have speed, but can they get up there? I don't expect the Penske Fords, right? Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano. I don't expect them to be in contention here at the end of this race. But we've seen this before where Joey Logano's won here. Ryan Blaney's won here before. They've won championships here. I think for them to win this weekend, though, there's going to have to be a late yellow. Some carnage happens out there. If they can avoid being mixed up into it, well, they can survive, and they can get the win on a late restart, both Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano. That's the way that they can win out there. I'm going to go with a guy that I generally don't pick here in Phoenix to win. The way last season ended for him in the championship, his terrible offseason with his family and in the fire with his parents and everything. Not that he struggled to start this race, but these aren't normal races. You know, the drafting tracks and the road course and the street course. We're getting back to racing here. I don't think Denny Hamlin can win in Las Vegas. I think a Hendrick car is going to win there in Las Vegas. So I'm going to go with Denny Hamlin, getting the demons off of his back of losing that championship last year here. I think Denny Hamlin is going to come into this race and get the win for the Cup Series this weekend here at Phoenix, folks. This is going to be a fantastic race weekend, a doubleheader in terms of two different styles of racing. Saturday is going to be a long day out there. If you're hitting the racetrack this weekend here in Phoenix, hit me up. Just go to the Pit Stop Talk or my personal Twitter at SMAC, SMAC 500. Hit me up, DM me. Let me know where you're going to be at during the races and stuff. We'll come on by and see you once the races have started and our festivities are done out there. It's going to be a fun weekend. I'm excited to see, how the Chevys run with this new body style here on a speed track, right? The 1 mile oval. I'm going to be interested in seeing how they run in Las Vegas next week as well. Do some of these guys that have kind of written off and don't like the drafting tracks, how do they look here in their first race week? How have the guys that have ran well, Tyler Reddick, for instance, how do they look this weekend? This is going to be a fun opening weekend. We get to see the Indy cars out there for the first time since 2018 here in Phoenix. Folks, I'm excited as all heck. If you're going out there to watch it, if you're catching it on television, have a great time. Hit me up. Follow us at the Pit Stop Talk. We'll be back next week, Wednesday, for our show. Come and join us, would you? We'll see you then. Everybody have a great race weekend. Stay cool out there if you're in Phoenix. A little warm. Share us with your friends out there on our YouTube page, of course, or the free podcast system. We'll see you next week, everybody. Have a great time racing. Follow me at the Pit Stop Talk. We'll be out there. We'll be conversing and putting stuff out. It'll be fun. See you then, everybody.